Can the RTX 5080 deliver a pleasant gaming experience when paired with a 4K monitor in modern games, or is it just an overpriced piece of trash? Let's find out. To test this, I'm using the MSI Supreme SoC version of the RTX 5080 paired with the Ryzen 7 9800X3D CPU to avoid any bottlenecks. This part of the video is sponsored by Salad. Got a powerful NVIDIA GPU like the RTX 4080, 4090 or anything from the 3060 and up? Don't let it sit idle. Put it to work with Salad, a compute sharing app that harnesses your PC's power while you're away, tackling real-world tasks like AI processing and 3D rendering. In return, you earn Salad Balance that you can use on PayPal, Amazon or gaming gear. No crypto wallets needed. Setting up is a breeze. Just download Salad, run it while your PC is idle, and start earning. No complicated setup, no headaches. Ready to see what your GPU can do? Grab Salad now using the link in the description below and start making your hardware work for you. Let's start with one of the latest releases that has ray tracing, Doom: The Dark Ages. We are at 4K resolution using NVIDIA's DLAA, which means that we are at native resolution, no upscaling for now, but we'll take a look at that later. No path tracing, no ray tracing, again, we'll take a look at that later. And the graphics settings are absolutely maxed out. Ultra Nightmare preset. It is quite bizarre, but we are already experiencing below 60 FPS. And we haven't even turned on ray tracing fully. This game does feature ray tracing by default, but that's not like high levels of ray tracing, just basic. So, witnessing below 60 FPS at this set of settings, yeah, that's not promising, is it? Because path tracing is even more intense on the GPU. That said, what I can't deny is that the game looks absolutely beautiful with this set of settings. All the fine details are nice and crisp. I love it. But if we are to get a good experience, we'll have to use resolution upscaling. Let's try DLSS Quality mode first. Okay, this is much better. We're getting well above 60 FPS, close to 90 sometimes. And the details are still well preserved. Yeah, I like it. This is a 27-inch screen, but it also looks good on a 32-inch screen. Once you start going up in size, using resolution upscaling actually makes a significant difference, I would say. If your eyesight is good, then you'll see that finer details are not as sharp and crisp. The image will become softer and softer as you lower the resolution upscaling quality. But it seems that is the only way to get a pleasant experience out of modern games nowadays. There's just no way that I'll play this kind of game with dips below 60, okay? It's just not happening. It's not pleasant. Ideally, I want to see 120 FPS in this kind of fast-paced shooter game. What if we lower the graphics quality a little bit? Let's try Nightmare. It's not making much of a difference. Maybe minor performance improvements, but it's not a significant improvement. We're still getting mostly the same kind of performance. Let's try lowering it a little bit more, maybe Ultra. Okay, let's try Ultra. Nope. Still the same kind of performance. It doesn't appear to be making any significant changes, both in terms of performance as well as in terms of visuals. To me, the game looks exactly the same it did using the Ultra Nightmare graphics quality mode. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that if we start Making side-by-side comparisons, we'll see some differences, but just to the naked eye, no difference. It might be the case that we have to actually enable path tracing for that to make any difference. We'll definitely try that, but before that, let's try getting to a 120 FPS experience using resolution upscaling balanced mode. Nope, that's still not enough. We're getting closer and closer to that 100 mark, but yeah, 120 still eludes us. So we'll have to lower that resolution upscaling quality a little bit more. DLSS Performance mode to the rescue. That's better, but still, it's not a massive performance increase, is it? We had a pretty good increase going from native 4K to DLSS Quality mode. That was a nice FPS boost, but after that the gains aren't that massive, especially considering that when using DLSS Performance mode we are upscaling 1080p image to 4K. And that's all because of the GPU. The CPU is not creating any bottlenecks. As you can see, the GPU load is consistent and very high, 98%, and our CPU isn't even that loaded. 30-ish% utilization, going slightly above that sometimes. It appears that the only way to actually get a 120 plus FPS experience is by using NVIDIA DLSS frame generation. I know that not everyone likes it. I try not to use it when I can because it does still introduce visual issues, but if it's done properly, if it's integrated properly, then the issues are minimal. For example, in this game, it works absolutely fine. So let's turn on frame generation to X mode and go back to DLSS quality mode and see what happens, because yeah, let's not use resolution upscaling performance mode, okay? Quality, it looks very nice on the 27-inch monitors as well as larger monitors, 32 inches, 40 inches, you name it, works well. Oh, and let's go back to using Ultra Nightmare graphics quality preset. That is the absolute maximum. For this section of the video, because of frame generation, you'll have to ignore the frame rate graph right here. It's not working correctly with frame generation enabled. The frame rate is actually nice and smooth. And as you can see, we're getting above 120 FPS. And it feels nice. On a high refresh rate monitor, this feels really good. This game is transformed, I would say. You definitely want to try a 120 FPS experience in this game if you haven't tried it yet. It is much better than 60 and, well, slightly better than 90. In terms of controls responsiveness, yeah, it's absolutely fine. There are no issues. I like it. In this game, frame generation works really well. Yeah, I think that this is pretty much my recommended way to play the game. Of course, it is kind of sad that we have to resort to using frame generation on the RTX 5080 to actually enjoy this game on a 4K monitor properly. But yeah, it is what it is. Unfortunately, that is the world we live in. Kind of disappointing, but okay, let's move on to testing ray tracing, or more specifically, path tracing. We'll turn it on and we'll turn off frame generation because let's check, the real performance. Let's see how much real FPS we're getting. The graphics quality is set to Ultra Nightmare and DLSS is set to quality mode. Yeah, this isn't good. Even with resolution upscaling set to quality mode, this is not a good experience, is it? Well below 60 FPS, 40s, high 30s, not good, not good at all. We'll have to do something about it. And this is actually a good opportunity to check if, changing the graphics quality preset actually does anything, because previously it had no impact on performance whatsoever. Let's select the nightmare quality. Okay, I think there is a tiny difference. Or maybe not, no. The FPS is about the same. High 30s to about 40 FPS, yeah. What about the ultra graphics quality? Let's check that. Ultra, let's go. It's exactly the same. Well, maybe not exactly, because previously we've seen something like 37 FPS. Maybe there is just like 1 FPS difference. Yeah. Minimal performance improvement from actually lowering the graphics quality in this game. And as I mentioned previously, the game looks exactly the same to the naked eye without comparing it side by side. Okay, and obviously I wouldn't want to play this game with this kind of frame rate. It's not good. I think we'll have to lower the resolution upscaling quality to performance mode right away. Let's try it. Alright, this is playable. However, we can't get a consistent 60 FPS experience, which is kind of underwhelming, right? The latest game, the latest high-end graphics card, and we can't get a 60 FPS experience. But that's because path tracing is extremely GPU demanding, and NVIDIA hasn't made a huge progress in terms of path tracing and ray tracing performance improvements. Obviously there are some improvements, but they're not massive. I mean, you'd expect NVIDIA to actually improve one of their flagship features, which is ray tracing and path tracing, but that hasn't happened yet. Unfortunate. And take a look at this. Sometimes the FPS drops to 40 plus. So it's not even a close 60 FPS experience, it's more like 50-ish FPS experience, even though we are using DLSS Performance mode. Personally, I think that using ultra performance DLSS resolution upscaling on the RTX 5080 is heresy, so we are not going to do that. That mode lowers the image quality quite a bit, because that is 720p upscaled to 4K, and I just don't want to look at that, especially when I'm paying $1,000 or more for a graphics card to enjoy my games. Let's try resolution upscaling. Of course, it's not ideal because our FPS drops below 60 sometimes, but let's at least check it out. The image fluidity is nicer because we're now getting close to 90 FPS quite consistently, but the controls are not as responsive. I mean, there is a little tiny lag that I can feel, because I can feel the contrast between the kind of graphics settings configuration we used previously, just now, and now I'm using frame generation, and yeah, it's just that the image fluidity doesn't really compute in my brain with the kind of controls responsiveness that comes with lower frame rates, because we're still getting something like 40 to 50 FPS base, and then Those additional frames are just being generated on top of that, and that's why the controls don't feel as responsive. But is it a horrible experience? No, I would say it's okay. I mean, I don't mind playing like this, but again, we're talking about a high-end graphics card that costs a lot of money, so I personally expect a top-notch experience from it, and this is not a top-notch experience. It's a compromise, and a pretty significant one, I would say. Unfortunately, this is the only way to experience path tracing in this game, and it does look amazing. But is it worth it? Personally, I would just keep path tracing turned off and, experience this game at proper 100 plus FPS. That experience feels much better, much more fluid, much more pleasant. Next, let's check out the recently updated Cyberpunk 2077. 4K resolution. Let's set the graphics quality to high because that is the most reasonable graphics quality to use. It performs well, it looks great. There's basically no reason to use Ultra in my opinion. And we'll select the latest DLSS 4 transformer model. Let's set it to native resolution using NVIDIA's DLAA and check out the performance, of course without motion blur, without film grain. All this crap has to be disabled, I don't like that, and field of view is set to 100. No ray tracing for now, but we'll take a look at that shortly. Path tracing as well. This game has been around for a while, and surprisingly we still can't get a 120 FPS experience at native 4K, even when using optimized graphics settings. That's just madness in my opinion. Yeah. Although to be fair, it is still quite a graphically demanding game and it has been updated, so it's not the same as it was upon initial release. When it first launched, it was kind of less demanding if you didn't use ray tracing. If I remember correctly, this game actually gains a massive performance boost if you use DLSS Quality mode, which looks pretty much exactly the same as native resolution. I can't tell the difference between resolution upscaling on and off in this game, so I always use DLSS Quality mode. It looks beautiful, and now we're getting that 120 FPS experience. Although there are some dips below 120, as well as some, spikes to 130 plus. That's pretty nice. Yeah, the overall experience is very nice indeed using this graphics settings configuration. If I were playing this game today without ray tracing, then this is the graphics quality I would use. High with DLSS Quality mode. Beautiful, fluid. But this is the RTX 5080 we're talking about. So it's only fair to want to use ray tracing to enhance the visuals of the game. Yeah, let's turn it on and all of this. Ray tracing ultra. Okay. And let's not forget ray reconstruction. Ray reconstruction doesn't cost anything to run, while improving the image quality significantly by reducing the noise introduced by the ray tracing effects. It's a very handy feature that makes ray traced reflections look nice and crisp, not muddy and noisy. like they do on AMD graphics cards, because AMD is working on their own version of ray reconstruction, but we don't know when that's gonna come out and if it's gonna be included in the drivers, or will the game developers actually have to update their games, which is going to suck if that's the case. But yeah, unfortunately, Nvidia is still winning in the ray tracing game. The performance is okay, I would say. It is acceptable, mostly 50 plus FPS. Yeah, not brilliant, but not horrible either. Let's lower the resolution upscaling quality to balanced mode. The game still looks nice and crisp, and the FPS is well above 60. This is the kind of experience I enjoy. Yeah, this is good. Personally, I don't think we need path tracing in this game. The highest ray tracing preset looks nice enough. The reflections are present, the lighting is ray traced and looks good. Obviously path tracing looks better, but it's a marginal difference in my opinion. It's not a transformative experience, while it consumes a lot more of the performance. It requires a lot more GPU compute power. But I think we still should check it out. Let's enable path tracing, alright? DLSS stays on balanced and graphics quality is still set to high. That is a massive performance hit. Take a look at this. We went from something like 70-ish FPS with just normal ray tracing enabled, and now we're getting around 50-ish FPS. This is not a pleasant experience. There are some dips into mid 40 FPS, 45, 47. Oh, got run over. You jerk! Look where you're driving! Although that was completely my fault. I shouldn't have crossed the road right there. Yeah. Always use pedestrian crossings. Be safe out there. The game does look a little bit different, more realistic, I would say. So that's nice. The visuals are good. But is it worth the performance hit? I don't think so. Personally, I would just stick to the ray tracing, just the normal ray tracing, because you still get the ray traced lighting, the ray traced shadows and the reflections. You definitely need a graphics card that is quite more powerful than the RTX 5080 to enjoy path tracing in this game. And in all other games for that matter, okay? The RTX 5090 is probably the only option that delivers an acceptable level of performance without, you know, lowering the resolution upscaling quality too much. Speaking of the resolution upscaling, let's try DLSS Performance mode. This is actually acceptable. Not great, but acceptable. 50 plus FPS right now. Okay. Path tracing is viable on the RTX 5080, but you'll have to use DLSS Performance mode. To be fair, DLSS 4 Performance mode looks, well, comparable to DLSS 3 Quality mode, I would say. Yeah, it looks nice, but the bar has been lifted. And now we're judging everything by the new bar set by DLSS 4. And personally, I still prefer using DLSS Balanced at 4K because that looks nice. If I can get away with using DLSS Quality mode and still get something like 90 plus FPS, then I prefer that, obviously. But DLSS Performance, yeah, it is fine, but it is not a high-end experience in my opinion. DLSS Quality is a high-end experience. DLSS Balanced is arguably can be a high-end experience, but still, you know, nothing beats native resolution. Unfortunately, modern games, yeah, you're not gonna be playing modern games without the help of resolution upscaling anytime soon. It is here to stay, so you have to get used to it. And to be fair, DLSS 4 does look good. So there's that. I mean, if you played games a long time ago and you used something like FXAA for your anti-aliasing, that was horrible. Alright? Even something like 2x MSAA, nah, it didn't always look good. You had to use something like 4x MSAA to actually get a nice looking image. And nowadays, using DLSS Quality mode on a 4K monitor, yeah, that looks good. The jaggies are gone and the image looks nice and crisp. One thing that we can do to improve the image fluidity in this particular case is use frame generation. Let's enable that. That requires a game restart, by the way. Now we can select the 2x frame generation mode. That is my favorite out of the bunch. 3x and 4x, I'm not a fan of those. Frame generation improves the image fluidity quite well in this particular case, and the controls feel absolutely fine. No issues. The mouse movement is nice and responsive. I can aim at exact spot where I want to aim. No issues, no lag, no latency. Well, there is latency, but it is small enough for me to actually enjoy the game properly. This feels good, and the 2x frame generation mode actually looks and feels okay in this game too. It is not fantastic, obviously. I would prefer playing the game without it, but if I really wanted to check out path tracing, then at least it's possible, you know, to do with higher frame rates. And we still have enough video memory, which is good. Yeah, 16 gigabytes is not a lot for the RTX 5080. It's not going to be like future-proof or anything. We might run into problems later down the line in a few years' time, but we just don't know at this point. We don't know where the game's requirements are headed. Who knows? Maybe we'll need 20 gigs minimum. Maybe 16 will be enough for the next 10 years. There's just no way to tell. There you go. You can actually experience path tracing on the RTX 5080 if you are okay with, you know, making quite a few compromises in terms of resolution upscaling and frame generation. But at least it works, unlike on some other graphics cards. Not every new game has path tracing, and Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is one of those examples. Let's use the absolute maximum graphics quality preset, experimental. Alright, we are at 4K, experimental, FOV is set to 100, DLSS 4 transformer model enabled using native anti-aliasing, so no resolution upscaling for now, but I'm sure that we'll need it in this game too. That is, if we want to achieve a nice, smooth 60 plus FPS experience. Or, even better, a 90 plus FPS experience, because in this game, personally, I like playing it at 90 plus FPS. 60 plus is fine, of course, but 90 plus is much better. And we can achieve that by just lowering some settings making some tweaks and not missing out on, well, pretty much any visuals. And I'll show you how in just a little bit. First, let's take a look at the native performance, just out of curiosity, for science purposes, so to speak, okay? And the experimental graphics quality preset is actually meant for like future generations of hardware. As you can see, it has a few performance dips here and there. So it's not perfect, it's not as smooth as other graphics quality presets in this game. Yeah, it's acceptable, but not pleasant in my opinion. So personally, I don't use the experimental graphics quality presets. I prefer playing on Ultra. So let's select that and see what happens. In terms of visuals, the game looks almost exactly the same. There are some differences in shadows in some places, but it's minimal. And the performance, take a look at that. It is much better. It is smoother and the FPS is higher. 70 plus over here. Not going below 70. All right. And in this section, 66 is the lowest I've seen. Okay, yeah, so basically with this settings configuration, you can stay at above 60 pretty much at all times, which is what we want. Oh, look at that, 69 FPS, perfect. We can make the experience even better by utilizing DLSS resolution upscaling. Let's try the quality mode. Yes, this is what I'm talking about. 100 plus FPS. Very nice indeed. Come here, boy. Who's a good boy? Yes. Give you some pets. Nice. Finer details such as grass and foliage, they look beautiful using DLSS 4 quality mode. I have no complaints whatsoever. I'll definitely take that FPS boost over using native resolution in this game any day, any day. Every time I use DLSS quality mode. Even at 1440p, it's still worth it. Not just at 4K. And even the balanced mode doesn't look too bad either, so let's try that. Let's see if we are going to get a nice FPS boost from that. It's not a huge one, but it is significant. 110, 115, sometimes 120 FPS. Not consistently, but yeah, why not? Why not? If you want a more fluid experience, you have the option to actually achieve that. Still, 100 plus FPS consistently. At this point, we can just lock the FPS at 90, for example, and enjoy the game with the nice and smooth 90 FPS experience. And the GPU doesn't have to work as hard, the CPU doesn't have to work as hard either. So the power consumption is down, the experience is nice and smooth because we are not getting those frame rate fluctuations anymore. That's what's making the gameplay feel choppy or uneven. If you can achieve a nice, flat, consistent frame rate, your experience will be perfect. In conclusion, if you want to enjoy modern games on a 4K monitor, then the RTX 5080 is the best option for that. Because AMD or Intel, they don't have any alternatives that can compete with the 5080, and while the RTX 5090 is more powerful and delivers a more pleasant gaming experience, it has quite a few issues of its own. For example, the 5080 consumes 300 plus watts of power, and that is manageable because remember this, the amount of power it consumes, basically it introduces that much heat into your room while you're playing games. And the 5090, it can consume up to 600 watts of power. And that is a lot of heat to deal with in the room while you're just gaming. So for me, those gaming sessions are too sweaty, I would say. Literally too sweaty. I don't like that. That's why, while the RTX 5080 is not a zero compromise graphics card, you still have to make some compromises, lowering some graphics settings, using DLSS resolution upscaling, and depending on what kind of ray tracing you're using, even frame generation is required in some cases if you want to experience buff tracing, for example. That said, in the absence of better alternatives, I still recommend it. You can have a good time using the RTX 5080 paired with a 4K monitor. By the way, if you're interested in any of the products featured in this video, you can find them on Amazon at the links in the description below. Check them out. Furthermore, let me know in the comments, what do you think about this experience, this combo? And if you enjoyed this video, found it helpful, don't forget to reward my work with a like. It helps out a lot, and I very much appreciate it. Also, subscribe for more videos like this if you haven't already. It was I, Vadim. Until next time.